Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
A geek for fun.
Indeed he is. So today we're doing a thing, and Alfie's going to just have to forgive me for making him watch this. We're reviewing Bionicle, The Mask of Light, a direct-to-DVD animated film from 2003. Based on the hit Lego toy, Bionicle. So... the reason I wanted to talk about this is, as I've made it well known that I've been getting more and more into Lego again, and funny enough, the thing I'm not getting into again is Bionicle. When I got all my my Legos back from my mom, I took all the Bionicles, put them in a bin, and put them in the attic because I'm not really interested in this one anymore. But, like, just, you know, you kind of fall down the YouTube algorithm rabbit hole, and you watch enough Lego videos, eventually you get recommended Bionicle videos. And I just found, like, all this information out about this franchise that I've never really known before. And it just kind of made me want to have an excuse to just talk about that and talk about just what Bionicle, like, was and did, and like it was just such a very specific thing. Ideally I wanted to talk about this with Steve, who I know had Bionicles, but I don't know, I guess we'll shot in the dark here because Alfie would have actually been more age appropriate for it. But Alfie, did you ever have any Bionicles?
No, I didn't, but I wanted them because I saw the adverts all the time and I thought they looked really cool. So they would always like show like the adverts in the UK after like the Sarah Jane Adventures or something, like Bionicle new toy line available now. But whenever I would go like to the shops to see them and stuff, they'd never be in stock. I don't know if that's because they sold well or they didn't sell well at all. Like, I don't know.
Okay, so this is the interesting thing because Lego in the late 90s was in financial trouble. They had like a very specific problem, which is they had dominated the toy aisle so hard that they didn't have anywhere left to go. So they were trying all these like new strategies, and their business was failing. It was getting like too big to sustain, and there wasn't any growth. So they were trying all these new strategies, and one of the new strategies was licensing. So the thing that a lot of people say saved Lego is Lego Star Wars. And to an extent that's true. It saved them from bankruptcy. But unfortunately, it's a licensed theme, right? So they were losing a lot of the profits that they were making from the sets. It was like, it was profitable, but not enough to like save the company, just enough to keep them afloat. And so they started working on all these in-house themes and retooling the idea of like just basically the fundamental philosophy of Lego is really interesting. And the thing that ended up like really coming through, the original Lego-owned property that really came through and saved the company and made it like truly profitable again was Bionicle. So they sold incredibly well. And that's just one of those really interesting things to like discover about this franchise for me. Like, I knew they were big as a kid, but the idea that like me spending all my allowance to get the next wave of Bionicles, I had no idea.
Yeah.
So
That's really interesting. I didn't know. I always think of Lego as such an institution that you can't think of them ever. I guess it's like Marvel, similar timings as well, the same kind of era. You just don't expect like a name that big to ever have that kind of financial troubles. But that's really interesting. And I guess it makes sense because it is so different than the rest of their brand by like leaps and bounds. It doesn't even look like Lego.
Yep.
You'd have to tell me because you're the guy that makes them. Are they even like compatible with Lego pieces?
That's the problem a lot of people have with this era. This entire era of Lego just has a lot of this where, like, technically the answer is yes. However, they are so specific that they only work with a couple select pieces. So, like, the big flaming sword thing that the guy has. So that's got what's called a Technic pin at the bottom, or Technic axle hole at the bottom, where it can fit into anything Technic. The original Bionicle line was actually a subset of their Technic theme, which is just like the more adult-oriented kind of stuff that's like, you know, moving contraptions, lots of trucks and construction vehicles, stuff like that. That's just more complicated, but Bionicle certainly was not. So they'll be compatible with Technic elements, but that's not really like the, you know, quote unquote system, which is the bricks, the plates, those things. So it's not truly a system set, if that makes sense.
Okay, I get you. I was just curious because I think that's again something that adds just looking at them. It doesn't feel like they'd fit like the Lego mold. But I've seen people do crazy stuff with Lego, so I didn't want to just make the assumption.
Yeah, like that's one of the things that just became kind of a big deal. And again, Bionicle's kind of having a bit of a resurgence in the community because of a recent promotion that Lego's run where they've released a new version of Tahu, the fire Toa, and it's a system build now. So like this would be in the modern day what you would get to create a Bionicle.
Okay.
Instead of using Technic custom molds. Here's actually kind of a cool picture of the very first Tahu with the system version. You can find that. I just googled Tahu gift with purchase if anyone really wants to see the breakdown of these things. But yeah, so like the style of the toy, all that stuff I just find really interesting. But I remember this movie coming out, and this was right at the kind of the tail end of me being, you know, a kid into Lego, because when this movie came out in 2003, I would have either been 12 or 13. So I was kind of getting to that point where you're kind of over toys and stuff. But Bionicle, just the last couple of years of my like boyhood, I guess you'd say, was just such a big thing to me that I was like really, really excited for this movie. And my friends, who most of them were like a year younger than me, were a couple of us were all really excited about it. So it was like kind of like that last experience, like that like those fleeting moments of childhood for me, if that makes sense. And the funny thing about it, and this holds true to this point today as a grown-ass man, this movie's not very good. It's a bit fucking disappointing.
Yeah, I didn't want to be me.
No, it's not. It's not very good. It's weird. From just like a promotional like idea, it's such a weird thing because Alfie, I promise you, this is the very first Bionicle movie. Does it feel like the very first Bionicle movie?
No, and I looked up. All the sequels are prequels.
I didn't know that one.
Which is really funny. So did they like release these out of order? Or, like, is this a George Lucas situation? Like, are they just visionaries or what? Like, what happened here?
Yeah, no, man, it's such a weird thing, and I just like I kind of knew the story of Bionicle at the time. A lot of what my friends and I did with these were like all our own story, but like they released these were the heroes, these were the enemies. They had like names and like a backstory. We didn't really give a shit about most of that. Besides, this is the new bad guy. But like this is such a weird thing because yeah, like the Toa that you're seeing here, these are all like their second evolutions and stuff, and like just all the pre-established continuity from like basically the comics is just here. It's such a weird fucking thing to do for a movie. and then on top of that, it's not even starring the fucking heroes of the franchise. It's just these two fucking whatever jokers that are like the tiny McDonald's toy guys. It's such a fucking letdown.
Yeah, so I don't know anything about Beyond. Is that like because I know like Digimon and like Pokemon, like there's always like the idea that you start with like the little starter one and like he grows with you is a very like common practice in all these type of like franchises aimed at children. Is the idea of like it's why Shazam was so popular, right? Is like you can be a kid but then become the big powerful big one. Is that like a feature of Bionicle, or is that just from this movie? Like, is that?
Nah, that's just the one guy.
That's so funny.
and as far as I know, there might be more Bionicle fans out there that like are more immersed in the lore. But as far as I remember, at the time this came out, and again, it was a very particular thing of feeling like so underwhelmed by this movie for multiple reasons that we'll get into. But like, as far as I remember, that like these guys had just been basically like the civilians you were saving, or the civilians the Bionicles were saving from the different monsters and stuff. Like these guys had never really had any real feature or importance in the stories before. They were always just kind of there, and the Bionicle, like they'd be running, and then the fucking monster would come out, and the Bionicle would come in and save them, and that would be your little fucking flash animation that you waited for your computer 20 minutes to load to be able to watch. Kind of thing. Like these guys never really had any like actual importance, or they're basically all interchangeable from what I remember. You had like the elders, I feel were maybe even a little more significant because these guys were like Happy Meal toys is the original way to get the main fucking character of this movie. Is like his type of fig was just a Happy Meal toy. The elders that you see in this that are like the wise old ones or whatever, they were sets you could actually buy. So it's just such a weird thing. And then on top of that, to make like all of the Toa here like incompetent and or pointless to the story is just another thing where, again, man, I cannot tell you, because I didn't have words for it back then when I was a kid watching it, right? I was just like, yeah, it was awesome. Like, you like lie to yourself.
I mean, I think I understand, because like it hits all the beats, right? Like it's very clearly cribbing from every hero's journey story ever, without much deviation. Almost kind of like bullet point. We gotta meet this beat. All right, this happens now because this is where we meet this new. Okay, now the friend, but then he comes. Then spoilers, by the way. To anyone cares about Bionicle Light of Mask of Light spoilers, you can watch the prequels first if that really clears up the lore for you.
I mean, it does legit make me wonder if I should watch the prequels. Like, I'm hoping that one of them would have the original Toa.
You're too deep here. They've got their fucking claws in you. Oh god, but no, it feels very much like that, and I guess the main thing that kept sticking to me as I was watching this, is just kind of like I don't get like it's weird because as a kid I thought they were cool, right? But now I look back at them and like these aren't cool looking. Like these are like weird looking, and I don't quite understand what like Bionicle's thing was. Like for example, like Transformers, obviously, right? Transform robots into cars. Fucking Digimon, right? Is you can have Pokemon in your pockets so they can transform into crazy monsters. Bakugan, you can play with them because they transform into like tiny balls and stuff, and you can roll them out. Even just more conventional robot toys is just like here's a very intricately detailed robot toy. You can.
Does that help?
Huh? But
Does that image help?
I mean, but like, what do you do with it? Like, what's the thing?
I think the appeal to Bionicle, at least for me, growing up, and this is actually something I got kind of annoyed about as I saw them when I was older, like right before they got canceled. I was like, they've lost it. Is, you know, you grow up, you play with Legos, and you fucking play with it for 10 seconds and it breaks, and you gotta fucking fix it. And that's like kind of always a frustration. These had a cool factor because they were like tougher. Like these were buildable action figures. So you'd create them, you could swap and combine pieces and give them like give your guys different weapons, and it had the Lego theme or the Lego philosophy still of interchangeable. Every part works with another part. So you could have the green guy's axe will fit with the red guy just fine. You're not like forcing it in there, kind of problem you'll have with some other action figures.
Okay.
And then just again on top of that, the fact that these are tougher, they don't just fall apart. They've got like action motion elements, which as like play features, which were a little more unique for Lego at that time. So a lot of that, and then yeah, again on top of that, this just had that like lore attraction to it. Like the original marketing for Bionicle was fucking hype, not gonna lie. Just again, I had to send you that original image of Tahu fucking lava surfing and shit because it's cool, man. It's just cool. What did Bionicles do? Well, they washed up on a beach, they built themselves, and then they did extreme sports. It was the 2000s, Alfie. I don't know what else to tell you, man.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's just like it looks. There's definitely like even the new wave version I think looks better. I don't know if you agree with me.
No,
Like,
I don't. That the new wave version looks like. Can we get Bionicles? We have Bionicles at home. But
what
that's
I like about that is it looks more like a Lego cool robot thing. Like I think it looks more like what like the appeal of that would be. At least again, kind of detached from it a long time. As a kid, I probably would have gone for like the lankier one as well. But just in terms of like character design, it feels a little bit more like it's a concept. It's like, oh, that's the Lego robots. Like the Bionicle on its own feels like it doesn't. If I was in a pitch meeting and someone came with this design, I'm just like, what is my takeaway? Is this a sex thing? Like, would you shove it over your ass, or like, what was the head so much bulbous compared to the rest of the body? You know, like, and I go to the movie itself. I kind of had that thing as well, where we start with the big lore dump about how King Piccolo was sealed away from Namelia. And once we arise,
I'm just so happy that Alfie was like, I didn't want to be mean, and then Ian's like, oh, this is terrible. He's like, oh, thank God. Now I get to shit on it.
I played it up for the lulz. It's truly inoffensive, but again, it's a kids movie direct-to-video from the 2000s. Like, what do you expect me to talk about here, man? Try to host a show, yeah. the whole thing of like we get the lore thing, and you'll correct me. What I thought was interesting about Bionicle that I guess goes with the surfing aspect that seems to be a thing is I didn't expect it to be so kind of like inspired by like tropical mythology and like that setting it on islands and having all the names and stuff.
They actually got in trouble for that.
Yeah, like
They got sued for basically cultural appropriation and profiting off of.
That's so funny because I was gonna ask like I was trying to figure out the more wholesome version, right? Where it's just like, oh, there's some people in Lego who are like from the culture wanting to actually no, it's just a bunch of white guys.
It's interesting because when the original like concept guy of the behind the brand, the guy that came up with like the buildable action figure and stuff, he was the one that actually came in and gave them like all these names inspired by the like island what's the name? Samoan mythologies and stuff, the island region and Pacific Island region, there we go, that's the word I'm looking for, and very clearly a white guy, but like before that, the names and kind of things they're thrown around, like early prototype versions were like called the what were they? The Boneheads, which just not nearly as cool and like mythic sounding, and like the whole idea of the play feature of knocking. It went from knocking the head off like Rock'em Sock'em Robots to knocking off the masks. So that all evolved, but yeah, the like guy behind it concept-wise, once they decided to get a little more serious and like edgy and grounded, was the one that came in and decided all these names. And I know a lot about his personal background, but I don't know what his fascination with that culture is, or if he just thought it sounded cool or what. But he is the one that came in and like specifically named them all, you know, Motunui and all that stuff. And his story is really fucking fascinating in like how directly it parallels and like informs Bionicle, because the dude had like a disease in his brain, and he had to take this this medication to like keep the problem like at bay. Mm-hmm. And so when you know that, and then you realize that the island they're on is an island on top of a giant Bionicle's head, and the Bionicles, the Toa, wash ashore in capsules and come out and build themselves, and then go among the island and find threats to the island and fight them and stuff to keep the sleeping god safe. It's really interesting in that regard, the amount of work the guy put into it and like drew on his own experiences. So it's, you know, it sounds kind of silly, and I'll still make fun of it because it is kind of silly, but there's something, you know, like legitimately inspiring that like this dude took his hardship and took inspiration from it and kind of made something from it, put his career into it, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely, I think that's always really interesting because it seems to be a trend that a lot of those takes come from when those people get a hold of like properties aimed at children. I think that's really funny how there's like a overlap to people not paying as close enough attention. So you do get kind of a lot of creative freedom because people just, oh, it's just a toy, make it whatever. So you can kind of like go in whatever direction you want. Obviously, there's going to be hundreds of notes and all that, but making like lore for a toy line, I do think there's got to be something to it because literally every single one has like the most complex, like deep dive, intricate fucking mythology known to man, like compared to anything else, because people just build onto it and throw in random tidbits, and then once you collect them all together with like the super fans, because the way I watched this was on YouTube, and it's in the comments section. There was a lot of like Bionicle people talking about like the lore of Bionicle and stuff like that. They go really into it, and I thought that was like fascinating. So I do think that there's a lot of room there for creative freedom and creative expression, which makes me disappointed because like this gotta be like the most generic like paint by numbers like backstory for something I've ever seen in my life. Like I don't. This is very much like I was curious what like reviews people said from this, and then like they were all pretty positive. And it was like, oh, it's like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and
Yes. Lord of the Rings, or not even Lord of the Rings. Star Wars definitely knows what it's doing with like being generic in the right ways, right? But like, no, this is just not well thought out. This is like paint by numbers, baby's first hero's adventure.
No, so what I meant by that is it's like it was copying from those, not that it had like the same tier as those.
Oh, I thought you were saying like it was going for that same kind of.
No, it's like it's clearly aping these things, and I obviously have it's drawing on the same WoW, but like even more so. I definitely felt that going into it. And it's a shame because the character designs, while unique, do lend. It is kind of hard to like. I kind of appreciate having the smaller guys as like the POV for a bit because a lot of the bigger ones, especially at distance, it's really hard to tell them apart.
Which shouldn't be a problem because they're like the fucking primary colors, right? This is the problem with the fact that they use like their Gen 2 designs where they all have like the silver armor on and stuff.
It blocks them all together like a lot.
It really does, and again, just the fact that it's not like focused on them, and then the other thing that kind of hurts it, like in a way that's almost completely unforgivable to me, is the action just really sucks. Like, you know, end of the day, Bionicle's whole thing was it is a buildable action figure. Their original television ads, oh my god, they're so fucking cool. Just like legit, just they were like these CG animated shorts, like 30-second ads of the Bionicles just doing cool shit, right, and fighting like the monsters, and then it would intercut with live action play footage and stuff. But like it always looked really like polished and clean, and the fact that you get this movie and they don't even use like actual Bionicle designs, they like humanify them, is the best I could think of. Toa Nuva. The fact that I know so many of these words now that I've not like paid any attention to since I was a kid is so funny. Why can I not find a good quality image? Sure, this one. So here's the for sticking with Tahu. Here's the original like Wave 2 Tahu that we got, right?
Okay.
Where he doesn't have hands, he's just got like the little Technic pieces to hold on to the swords and do stuff. You know, end of the day, that might like from an animator's perspective or something, I'm sure that could be like really restrictive, and I understand the temptation to do what they did for this, where they like gave him hands and everything. But it just like every step that they took just made it look less and less like the thing that it was supposed to be a film for, and that bugs me. And it just made it look more generic and less like the thing it was supposed to be. So not a fan of that. In all like honesty, just not a fan. Bad decisions were made.
I don't know. I'd be very curious to see like, because especially if like the reason you make this film is to sell the toys, so you'd think you'd want to make the toys look as cool as possible to show the different like mixing and matching, and they do a little bit, but not as much as like you'd expect. Like you don't have like there's the guy who like can control the sand, and then the guy who does the fire, and then they make like the glass thing. You'd think it'd be like, oh, but then like the ice guy is like getting in trouble. It's like the fire guy throws him his weapon and he uses the fire thing like in a thing, and like swaps it around kind of thing. Like more of that kind of like mixing and matching, because we get like the big final fight thing is we get like the fusion between the main guy and King Piccolo, and they make like the half fucking dark side monstrosity Bionicle. It lasts all of 5 seconds. But like that's like more of the concept, right? Like the mixing and matching, because that looked to me like something I would have done if I had them as a kid, of just like putting them together that weren't supposed to be, of like, oh, but what if you made the evil one with the good one, and then it's like beyond good and evil, it's like Shadow Hedgehog. It's like, it was super cool, right? Like you do that, so like that seemed to me more of like what you'd highlight, but there's not a lot of that in this film. And I think a lot of that probably just comes down to is they clearly didn't have a lot of money with this. This is very much you can only do so much. And I think for what they do a good job of making the Bionicles express as much as they can, because goddamn, trying to make those faces convey emotion has got to be the hardest goddamn thing in the world. So the fact that they do, and like you can tell what they're feeling, like again, it's not perfect or anything. What the limitations they give, they clearly tried to make it work, and I think for the most part they succeeded. But the action is definitely suffering from it.
The fact that like there's never like a proper fight, and it's just like they jump in front of the bad guys and do like the weakest beam clash of all time.
The funniest one was like the big epic like final battle where they reused the same clip. It's like the same, like they cut away from the fight. It's like he blocks the thing, he jumps onto the pillar, and then they cut away, and when they cut back, they blocks the thing and then jumps onto the pillar. It's like the exact same clip. Like it's not even like, and we do that in 2D animation all the time, but for some reason it feels a lot lazier in 3D. You could have at least moved them to a different part of like the like location you got him in. You didn't have to just play the same clip again. That was like, all right, come on, fellas. Come on, fellas. That was funny.
Yeah, no, I mean, you know, it's funny because you say like, oh, the faces would have been so hard to emote, and I'm just sitting here like, because you made me think about it. I just had to look up the original commercials for like just the Wave 1. Man, they do so much with just like narrowing the eyes and shit. You know, they get so much done here in these fucking commercials. That I don't accept that as an argument. I think there are just bad decisions made from an animation standpoint to change the character designs, make it look less like what it was meant to be anyway, and then just on top of that, there's just a lot going on. Also, I hate all the characterizations of all of them, which I realize probably less their fault. There's probably more like this in the comics, but just the fact that like Tahu, the red ones, just like fucking dick, and Gally is just useless. And I don't know what the fuck's going on with the green one. He's weird in this. Windfly.
Legendary car.
We know. What does he fucking say? We know feet walk with me. We fly for 10 seconds. Okay, I'll leave you on top of this mountain alone now. Bye.
You've abandoned your trusty friend. It's like, bringing him along for the journey. I could not bring him. First chance to ditch this poor fucking crab monstrosity. See ya. Make your own way back. It's like, what the fuck, guys? He loves you. Such a fucking dick move. You don't just do that to your noble steed. You're just fucking like, oh, sick, bro. This one can fly. Anyway, bye. So fucked up.
Oh my gosh.
But it is though. Can you imagine if in one of the Lord of the Rings movie, if they just part their fucking horse once they got an eagle, right? And they didn't even try to say like nice things to the horse. They're just like, all right, well, if you stay here with the fucking orcs, bye, we're leaving. But yes, it's more practical, but Christ.
Oh, you guys shared a bond. What the fuck?
So fucking funny.
Yeah. No, it's there's just a lot of decisions in this that I'm like, could we not? And again, the performance for me for the green one is just the most like literally that's the part where I literally cringed, Alfie. I was like, oof, that's rough. And then on top of that, right? So there's 7 Toa. It's always this way. Maybe this is why I'm a Green Lantern fan. Anyway, there's 7 Toa, and like we don't even see 2 of them for more than like 10 seconds in a fight. Like that's it. They're there and gone in just instants. So that was something. I did not know how to feel about that. The fact that like the characters that are the heroes of the franchise get put on the back burner, admittedly for the introduction of a new hero of the franchise. But I just feel like there had to be a better way to do it. Again, I cannot express to you the level of disappointment that child Ian felt on this one. It was rough.
Maybe instead of like having it be these 2 characters going on the journey and meeting them all like one by one, you could have just had it be a group of the Toa. Start out with like 3 or 4 of them and just like a team, and then encounter some of the other ones on the way. So that way you get more time with those guys, and then one of them gets like the light mask thing or whatever, and then gets like the superpower, like kind of like Power Rangers, right? Like the Red Ranger always gets like an extra like boost kind of thing. Like you could do this, so that would have probably made a lot of kids a lot happier. Of like, see, because it's like the appeal of the Justice League, like the Avengers, right? It's like every time you like have all these big powerful groups of things, you want to see those guys like together, like fighting stuff. You don't want to just see the background dude. You want to see the humans, right? It's like the humans in the Sonic movie. It's like, no, I'm so serious, Sonic. Come back. Like no one wants to see that. You want to see Optimus Prime and stuff. So I could totally understand that.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't necessarily have a problem with the idea of like introducing a new one and having them just come about in a completely different way. That's all like fine. It's just when you feel like you didn't get the exposure to the characters that you kind of came there for, and it's so funny to talk about this now because I'm just trying to voice not only my opinion on having watched it now, but really trying to like bring myself back to when I first saw this. Alfie, you know how bad I wanted to like this? I watched the commentary on the DVD to try to like, and all the special features to try to like, maybe if I just keep finding out more about it, I'll appreciate it more.
Did it give you any insight at all, or like not want to see that?
The story that I've always remembered from the commentary is they're the 2 guys that are like the little dudes in this, and it's not a good sign that I can't remember their names. And it's not that they have complicated names, because I'm remembering fucking Tahu and Galley and shit. But like the commentary mentioned that when the guys auditioned for their parts, there was the one character who was supposed to be like this organized chronicler and very intelligent and just like kind of a book nerd, and the actor comes in to audition for him, and somehow or other it looks like his copy of the script has just been run over by a truck. And then there's the other one, the captain of the guard, the like fun-loving, cool guy who's got a heart of gold. And the guy comes in to audition for him, and he's all like straight-laced and narrow. And so they realize that they've got the wrong actors auditioning for these parts, and they tell them to switch. And that's how they end up casting the thing. And I'm like, okay, that's interesting. Like, legitimately, I do find that kind of fascinating, the way that, like, just from a casting director kind of perspective. That's all I remember, and that's the only insight and like, nuance that I gained from this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know, man. It's that weird thing of, I don't know how to describe it, of just, you can kind of feel a part of your life slipping away as you move into a new stage. And that's not always like a clean, happy transition, and you often don't notice it happening, but like, this is such a specific thing for me of, I remember very clearly how I was feeling when I watched this, and specifically in the way that you know how like YouTube reviewers are infamous for like overreacting and saying just absurd shit about a movie when they don't like it? Okay, I'm gonna do that now. Bionicle: The Mask of Light ended my childhood.
That's the fucking high top films, like essay up now.
I mean, like, that's that feeling though of like, this is the first time. It's not the first time we watched anything bad and knew it was bad. This is the first time I remember feeling like let down by a piece of media related to my childhood. You know, this was that first like, kind of, that's just not very good, is it? Whereas when you're a littler kid, you know, you don't really think of the quality of the thing you're watching. You're either entertained by it or you're not. It's kind of just how it is. It doesn't, just because you weren't entertained by it doesn't mean it's bad. This was the first time I was like, oh no, this isn't very good, is it? Maybe Bionicles are stupid.
Don't be like that, yeah. I'm sure the toys are still cool. We've all got everything we love has got the ass thing, right? Everything, anything you love has got the thing that's just like, oh no, that's not very good, is it? I truly think that's what truly makes a childhood, is having that experience and trying to fight it desperately until you banish it from your memories and then come back to it and it all comes flooding back. I think that's a very human experience.
Maybe. I don't know. It was just an interesting, like, thought process to go through, I suppose. I wasn't sure how much of that emotion I would be able to recapture, how much of it I would feel was like justified. Because part of me was thinking, maybe I'll watch this and I'll just be like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of a just not very good kids movie on DVD, but there's nothing like bad about it. And now I'm like, no, this is pretty shit. This is just all around. This is not very good. and honestly, I'm kind of happy that like my marks of quality are at least consistent to some extent. I don't know. That's kind of just interesting in a sense to me.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say on it. I think it's
What'd you think of the, like, not the main bad guy, but what'd you think of just the, like, henchmen, his sons that he sends out? The Rakshi.
I mean, they kind of look like very much the cheaper toy. If that makes sense. Like, they're the ones you can get maybe like a pack of. You get like the bundle, the goon
really?
bundle. They're really not, because they look like they'd be like easier. They don't stick.
Nah, Rakshi, I think is how they're spelled. Yeah. They were just like the third or fourth wave of villains that they got. So like the very first Bionicle villains were entirely too expensive for, I think, most kids to get. I actually ended up getting two of them, which were in packs of two, so I had four of them. as like a Christmas gift. But like after that, Lego kind of learned their lesson and made the villains the same price point as the main Bionicles, and the Rakshi I think were like the third or fourth wave of villains that the Bionicles had to fight. I don't know. These were cool. The big innovation with them is they had kneecaps that could bend now. So there you go. I don't know.
Yeah, they look cooler in that picture than they do in the film. The faces.
See, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say, man. The film just fucks up the designs super hard. I do like the snake screechy face thing though. That's kind of cool. The fucking xenomorph thing that they do. I thought that was neat.
And that's that as well.
Yeah, I like their faces in this in the original toy too. They just had like a cooler face. I don't know. I'm just curious on your opinions on the Rakshi because they were probably my favorite villains that Bionicle came out with. And again, these were pretty current with the movie by the time they released, and I didn't buy anything else after the sets from the movie. I'm pretty sure. I think I maybe tried to keep on with it and bought like one or two of the next wave of the hero Bionicles, but it was quickly fading at that point. So much nostalgia. Thank you, Alfie, for joining me on this Ian wrestling with the slow march of time.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's something that I'm always curious about learning more about, because again, I saw the commercials, I did want to get into it. It's just kind of missed the boat on it, so it was nice getting to have a peek into an alternative world.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, I think it's going to be a shorter episode, but that's okay. Ian needs to learn his lesson and not pick children's entertainment to review, but I don't know. Sometimes it fascinates me and I want to talk about it, so there you go. Alfie, we need something to talk about next week. Did you want to pick something, or did you want to just hope that Steve would be able to join us so we can finally do his topic?
Have you ever watched The Shape of Water?
No, but I can.
Okay, so I'll pick that because I know Steve's already seen that movie, and I watched it recently. So if Steve wants to come on and he can do his topic, we can do that. If not, we'll talk in the week, but we could just watch that movie anyway, just as a topic. Because if we don't do it that week, we'll do it the week after, so you won't be like wasting your time watching it.
No, it's something I've been interested to watch anyway, so no biggie there.
Cool.
All right. Well, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I, the champion of the oppressed.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things